Right on. Welcome to the call. My name is Steve Bentley, and this is call number 4 of the NetFuel Masterclass as a second round. And we're going to be talking about an awful lot of stuff right now. To wrap things up, we're going to be doing the lifestyle options portion of the Masterclass, and we're going to also be talking about marketing, so how you can actually share NetFuel with people and help them be able to understand a little bit more about what Isagenix is all about and how a low-carb program can actually fit into things. It's an amazing system, Isagenix, and for some people, just dropping those carbohydrates can make a profound difference, especially if they're a little bit on the plateaued or stuck side. And then the other concept of things, too, is to help people get refocused on what they're doing. I know a lot of times people get into Isagenix, they've been in it for an awfully long time, and they get a little maybe lazy with how they're doing the program. And doing something like that, because it is so intense and restrictive, it gets them really focused on doing everything properly again. So that's, for some people, that's why it's working. But going forward, we've got the whole lifestyle component of using NetFuel, and we're going to talk about a little bit of different options there. One of the things I commented on today is somebody, or was it today or yesterday, somebody was talking about what they do through the program, and other people were coming back and going, well, I thought that wasn't allowed. And then I made the comment that, you know, people are at different stages going through the program, and it might be something I need to sort of point out a little bit more, but it's kind of hard to keep saying that over and over again. But with the understanding that when people first come into the NetFuel program, it's just so important for them to follow the program. So as coaches, if you're helping other people get going on into the program, what I would recommend that you do, and I've said this in different areas and probably up in some of the initial videos, is to let people know right up front that there are people in various stages of this program. Some people have been doing keto for years, right? Like Michelle and I have been doing a keto type eating plan for years, in incorporating that into how we just go through the day. We can get that adapted so easily. Like I can eat way more carbs than a lot of people and still stay into a nutritional state of ketosis because I'm just so locked into that. So what I do on an ongoing basis is going to be something completely different than what somebody that's just starting is going to be able to get away with. So if you're coaching people through the program, let them know right up front that you're going to see different people at different stages of the program, and they're going to be commenting on things and doing stuff that you're going to have to ignore, right? So if in doubt, go through the Start Here file and that document. And then, for example, the the tracking tables that are at the end of or that are in the Start, these tracking tables here. Just follow those. Like if in doubt, just tell people to follow the tracking tables, because the tracking tables are going to keep you on track, and they're not going to be something that's going to be really simple to follow. For a lot of times, though, people start to see all these other comments coming in, and it throws them off because they think, well, maybe I can do that, or that person's doing that. Maybe I should be able to put some cream in my coffee in the morning, right? You can do whatever you want, or somebody can do whatever they want as they're going through the program, but the more they drift from the set schedule, the more likely they are to have a hard time getting into that initial state of ketosis. And we want to make sure that people are doing what they can to get into that state as easily as possible, number one. And number two, get locked into that state so that when they start to raise carbohydrates up, you know, whether it's the cleansing days where we're doing 40 grams of carbs a day, or whether they're getting into those other days after the cleansing where they're pumping up to 50 grams of carbs, that they're not going to get pulled out of that state of ketosis. So I always like people to be really hardcore initially and stay on track. A couple things people are going to ask about as well is things like fruit. Like, when can I eat fruit? When can I do things like that? Again, I think for the first couple of weeks especially, I just say to people, just avoid all those simple sugary type foods, whether it's Ionic Supreme or fruit itself and Knox, all that stuff that's higher, like a high concentration of carbohydrates in a small little package, right? Even though there's a lot of great nutrients in those things, you can do them. But if your goal is to get into a really high state of ketosis so you can get into a good fat burning zone of that 1.5 to 3 millimoles per liter, having those little extra sugars probably going to make a really hard go of getting into that state of ketosis. So I would say for a couple of weeks, you can do without. Just focus on sticking with the program, staying simple, keeping those good complex carbohydrate, vegetables up, keeping your protein moderate and your healthy fats high, stick with the plan, enter everything into Carb Manager, and then move forward after that. Then you can start mucking around. And even doing that kind of focus for the first whole month, if you can do that, you're going to be in a lot better shape, because then after a whole month of being in ketosis, you can start to do things that, Michelle and I, for example, will be able to do a lot of different products, especially because of the activity that people are doing. If you're exercising a lot, you can add in a lot of extra carbs and get away with it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The second thing people ask about is not just, hey, can I have fruit, but do I have to have all this oil and junk in my coffee? I just don't like that, right? I did not like it at first. It took me an awfully long time to decide that I was going to start adding butter and oil into my coffee. And now I add a little bit of butter into my coffee every morning, right? And what I say to people is just do it, right? Unless it's going to make you actually physically sick. If it's just something you just don't necessarily like, do it anyways, right? And just have that hardcore, because if somebody's not going to do it, like for sure, they're just not going to do it, they're not going to do it. But if you give them an out as a coach and say, well, you don't really need to do it, then that's going to make it really simple for them to bail on that concept of adding that good healthy fat into their coffee. And the thing that I always want to have people think about is there's two things going on there that are so important for somebody just getting started. And it's the effect of those things that are going to hold people off from being successful in the program. Number one, adding that fat to your coffee is going to make it a lot easier for you to stay full through the morning. Remember, we're trying to get people fasting for 16 hours. That's a long time for some people. And quite often, your brain can take over really quickly. You could be so determined and so on track. And then next thing you know, you're like, I got to eat something right now. And then you're just completely forgetting about why you're doing this and why it's important. So having that healthy fat in your coffee first thing in the morning is way more likely to keep you full through the whole morning so that you can make it to that 11 o'clock shake, that isopro shake. So I always like to have people understand that you don't absolutely have to have the butter in your coffee. If you're not a coffee drinker, or butter in your tea. But those two things are so important. It's going to keep you really full through the whole morning so you can make it to 11 easily. And number two, having that extra healthy fat in your body is going to allow your body to go in and access those fatty acids that are in your body a lot more effectively for energy. So if you're holding back fat, then it's going to make it harder for your body to get into ketosis and go in and burn fat so you can get fat adapted. So staying full and getting into a quicker state of ketosis and getting into fat adaptation sooner are two huge benefits of having that fat in your coffee. So those are two really big questions that you're going to get from people right up front. Going forward, right, after you've been on a program for a month or so, if you want to start to drift from that, totally okay to do that. But here's what I would do, and this is why I say it's so important to have where's the ketone monitor? I think I took it out of here. But that's why it's so important to get something like the Keto Mojo. You don't need that initially as you're going through the program. I said, the best way to tell if you're in ketosis is how you feel, right? Like if you got mental clarity, you can go for hours without eating, you're sleeping really well at night, the fat's coming off, right? You're getting great results. Then, hey, you're most likely in ketosis and getting fat adapted. You don't really need to know if you're following the program, your carbs are really low and your fat's really high, you're probably in ketosis if you're getting all those results. Afterwards though, so this whole lifestyle thing, this is when you really need that Keto Mojo or something like that that's going to give you immediate feedback on how your eating is affecting your ketone numbers. And this is what Michelle and I did all the time. For months there, you would start to gradually increase your carbohydrate intake and do it in a way that see, it's not just the total carbs that you're bringing in through the day. It's when you're bringing those carbs in, what you're bringing them in with, and what you're doing when you're eating your carbs. So those are the three things I want to talk about because it's so important to understand what your specific number is. Because that 20 grams initially is an arbitrary number that most people are going to get into ketosis within 2 weeks. But as you could tell from following the program comments, right, that people are experiencing, not everybody's ketone numbers are jumping up into that good fat burning zone within 2 weeks of keeping their carbs under 20 grams a day, right? Everybody's different. The majority of people get great results with that. Same thing when you go up to 50 grams. The majority of people are going to stay in ketosis and they're going to get great results. They don't need to stay under 20 after that first couple of weeks, but some people do, right? And you want to know where you're at. So you want to know, hey, am I in ketosis, right, going forward? And more importantly, if you're interested in a lifestyle thing, because not everybody wants to keep their carbs artificially low through the whole rest of their life. Most people, I'm leading the pack on that. I like carbohydrates. I like to have carbs coming into my system because there's a lot of great nutrition in carbs. There's things like Ionic Supreme and Nox, right? Like we've got the Nitro or Power and Recover. Those are amazing products. They've got a bunch of carbs in them. I want to know how I can use those products on an ongoing basis. I like fruit. I want to add that into my day, but I want to know, when can I eat it? What do I need to eat it with? And what do I need to be doing in order to get away with eating that amount of carbohydrates? And the best way to figure that out is to do your blood ketone monitoring as you're going through. So let's say you're dialed into going at a particular carbohydrate level for an ongoing period of time. And you're, let's just say, arbitrarily under 50 grams of carbs a day. Going forward, let's say you want to pump it up to 80. And you're going to do that for 3 or 4 days, and you're going to keep testing your ketone numbers. But I'll tell you right now, here's the 3 things that are going to really help you be able to get away with eating more carbohydrates, right? Number 1 is making sure that you're bringing your carbs in around when you're doing your exercising. If you can do that, you're going to be a whole lot more able to eat a lot more carbohydrates, because the exercising is going to burn through a lot of those carbs that you're bringing in, and they're not going to have a chance to have an effect on your system in terms of either increasing insulin levels or decreasing your ketone numbers. So the more you can bring carbohydrates in and around activity, the better you're going to do. Now, I've said this to years for people. What I'm telling you isn't necessarily easy. It's just simple, and it works. So if you're used to eating most of your carbs at night with your family and you do all your exercising in the morning, that's a problem, because you need to get your carbs in early in the day, but you're doing all your eating of them later in the day, nowhere near your activity. That's a problem if you want to have that combination. So it's not necessarily easy, but it works if you do it the right way. So you could actually decide, okay, if I need a certain number of carbs in my body to feel good and, be able to eat the things that I want over time. And you found that from going through the Net Fuel program, which is completely different than how you're used to eating. Over time, you can adapt the way you eat. You can start to eat more of those carbs in the morning and have less and less of them later in the day. You're still getting those carbs in, but you're going to have less of an effect on your ketone numbers if you're able to get them in and around exercise. And here's a way I explain it to people. Imagine if you're eating a certain number of grams of carbohydrates and you're not exercising. Your body, I'm just throwing a number out as an example. These aren't exact. But imagine you eat, 50 grams of carbs, and you're going to need, like, say, 20 units of insulin in your system to process those carbs if you weren't exercising. If you're exercising, you're only going to need like half as much insulin pumping into your system to process those carbs out. So it's going to have less of a fat storing impact on your body. So as much as you can, always try and get those carbohydrates in and around activity. The other second thing that you can do that's really going to make it possible for you to eat more carbohydrates and get more of those great nutrients and foods into your system that have carbs is to have more complex carbohydrates. So makes sense, right? Don't choose sugar, right? A bag of sugar over broccoli. Broccoli would be better. So if you're choosing carbohydrates, make sure they're more complex, less simple, right? That's going to have a big impact. And then the other thing, and this is where John Anderson is so brilliant, have them with protein and healthy fats. Like, that just makes sense. That's why our isoline shakes are so amazing. So you can have an isoline shake, you can have an isoline pro shake, no problem whatsoever, and still stay in ketosis. If you've been in ketosis for a long enough period of time, having that shake is not going to pull you up because it's so low glycemic. There's so much protein in with it and so much healthy fat. Now, starting a keto program or Net Fuel, you got to get away from that stuff because you got to get your body locked into that state of developing those ketones. But after a while, you can easily have a shake and have no problem. I very rarely have just an IsoPro shake now, and I stay in a state of ketosis all the time. Check my ketone numbers yesterday, a couple hours before the call. 2 days ago, a couple hours before the call, and I was at 0.8. The show was at 0.6. So, and she was eating a lot of carbs to fuel some training that day and had something at work, but still getting carbs in and still able to maintain good ketone numbers. So those are the things that are going to help you going forward. So here's some things. Actually, let me open up the lines, because if there's somebody, I like to give specific examples. So if there's a question that somebody has, if you don't have one, I can give some examples, but I'm going to, if anybody has a question, take yourself off mute, give me an example of, hey, I'm at this state right now. How would I incorporate a lifestyle or a net fuel program into my lifestyle? How would I stay keto and meet my goals, whether it's fat loss or, because here's the different thing. Some people want to keep losing fat, but they want to get into a lifestyle program. And other people are happy where they're at, that they want to be able to pump those carbs up and be able to maximize the amount of carbs they can bring in, but still stay in ketosis. So does there anybody have any comments on that, or not specifically?
I have a question.
Hey, listen, no, yep.
So my husband works out at 3:30 in the morning to fit it into his schedule as a marathoner.
Yeah.
So he's added in some of the knocks and stuff like that, but getting in more carbs, he would mess up his intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you're initially starting the program, right, like that first month of net fuel, I'd say the intermittent fasting takes precedence over eating your carbs in and around your activity, because your carbs are so low. So what I'm discussing more is going forward, if he wants to be able to inch his carbs up and support his training, because the whole thing with the exercising is when you first go through the net fuel program, what you're trying to do is increase your percentage of fat adaptation, or that you're accessing fat for fuel. After you've done that for a month, let's say he was at 20 and now he's at 40. Awesome, right? He can stay on that if he wants to keep inching it up, but at some point in time, he's going to kind of plateau out on how much he can access fat for fuel. From there, it would be better to sort of balance things out and not necessarily do the whole intermittent fasting overnight where he's doing 16 hours of fasting, because he's got some performance goals. And carbs are great for performance, right? You need them. And things like NOx, for example, perfect example. Even if you're not fueling with carbs, right? Like Michelle uses a super starch now, waxy maize product that's really low glycemic, but it's got a bunch of carbs in with it. So she's going to for sure have that as part of her training, even though she's doing a bike ride at say 8 in the morning. And that's well within inside that 16-hour fast. Doesn't matter, right? It's important to get those carbs in order to support the training so she can go as hard as she wants. So the initial net fuel thought process for an athlete would be, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold back on my carbs, because the benefits that I'm going to get for fat adaptation are going to be worth it, so that later when I bring the carbs back in, I can move away from the intermittent fasting or the whole net fuel focus part of the program, because now I'm going to go back more into performance mindset, right, rather than restrictive mindset. That's a good question, though.
Right.
Did that answer okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Any other comments, questions to now? Yeah. Barbara? Maybe you're just like making the fist of victory there. Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, let's sort of talk about somebody who's still got fat to lose then, right? So going forward, what are people was that a question, Christina, or are you just sort of me? Okay. Okay. So
that's me, yes.
If you still have fat to lose and you want to lean out, then you're not going to go pushing the envelope to see what carbs you can get away with. My recommendation is just to stay under 50 grams of carbs a day, stick with the program and keep inching it down. If you feel like things are plateauing and your fat loss is kind of slowing down, then you can start to get into, I don't want to say carb cycling, but calorie cycling, where there's going to be different days where you're increasing your carbs and other days where you're restricting them. It's kind of like, you don't want to be doing the same thing all the time, because your body is going to get locked into a bit of a groove, and it's going to get comfortable with what you're doing. So even if it's working, right, under 50 grams a day is not necessarily a good thing if things start to slow down, because your body will adapt to that. So what you would want to do would be pick a couple days where you're going to exercise more than you normally would do and have a few more carbs than normal. So maybe you're going to go from, realistically, when I say to people go under 50 grams of carbs a day, they're usually in the 30s to low 40s, right? after you've been under 20 for a while, it's hard to get up to 50, especially if you're still in that mindset where I want to lose fat and I know how much carbs impact my fat loss. Most people don't go up to 50. So if you're in that state, work out harder for 2 or 3 days and let your carbs come up a little bit, up into the 50s, 60 or so, something like that. So you're giving your body extra carbs. Again, eat more of them in and around your activity because to fuel your activity so you can get more in. Make sure they're complex carbohydrates and make sure you're bringing them in with proteins and healthy fats. And then what's going to happen is your metabolism is going to be able to rev up a little bit more because you're not constantly restricting the energy going into it, right? And then for a couple days afterwards, drop a couple 100 calories under. So if you went up 100 or 2 or 300 calories to support your training, then a couple days after that, come back down and then do a couple cleansing days, right? That's a really effective way of doing that. Like, to 2 or 3 days of harder training with a little bit more energy coming in, calories and carbs, and then 2 or 3 days of a little less training, but significantly lower calories, and then a couple cleansing days. So you're cycling things, and that's going to it's going to keep your body off balance, right, metabolically, and that's going to shift things around a little bit for you. And we talked the other day about watching the amount of nuts that you're bringing in and dairy products. Some of those things can really hold things back. It's easy to get off track with water and electrolytes as well. So make sure you're staying on point with those. So going forward, it's really a good idea to just decide, okay, do I still have fat to lose? If I do, pick the number that you do, right, that you think you have to get rid of. And I don't want to even use the word realistic, but just pick a number so that you can work towards that and then start chunking it down. Because if you don't really know where you're heading, it's really hard to know when you've gotten there. Does that make sense? You've got to pick a number and then work towards it. And even if it's just an interim number, remember your calories are based on your goal ideal lean body weight, but you want to start to focus in on what it is you want to do, being very intentional about the activities that you want to do, the foods that you're eating, when you're bringing them into your system, and then being able to go for that particular goal with your activities. And like if you don't have a focus, it's hard to get where you're trying to go. Does that make sense? Cool.
I know, Steve, just for me, I know for me what's been happening is mine is kind of geared around events. Mm-hmm. So I was really, really strict until New Year's kickoff, and then we did New Year's kickoff. So then it's, my calorie count and all that stuff went up a bit. And then I've been really, really focused until now Canadian Celebration. And then I got to Canadian Celebration. So then, it'll go up again. And then my next one will be Celebration again. So it's kind of worked out based on for me who would like to lose more weight, I have to do it based around events. If I don't have an event or something that I'm working towards, it doesn't happen.
Well, as a performance coach, what's worked for a lot of people over the years is picking a specific activity that they're working towards, like a 5K running race, for example. I don't know if you're a runner or whatever, but if you are, you can pick an event like that because there's tons of them, right? With isogenics, there's only a few events every once in a while. And if you're trying to get results quicker and not having focus on a particular event that's coming up soon is throwing you off, then pick an event that's going to be a little quicker, right?
Okay. No, great idea. I have in the past been a runner. I've done half marathons and that. So
cool. Yeah, maybe get back into that just for the focus of, hey, this is what's going to get me to drop that weight because running with excess weight sucks. So if I have an event coming up in a month or two, I can drop the pounds so that when I do that race, I'm going to feel a lot better, have less chance of being injured, and I'm going to do better as well. Right? And then, there's so many benefits too of just getting healthier and dropping that excess weight. So it's not just how you look and feel, because at the end of the day, nobody cares but you, right? So it's thinking beyond the scale and the number there and how many pounds of fat that you've got on it. It's, why is it important to get to that point? And, I think it's super important just for overall health, let alone how you feel about yourself and look, but, stay on track with that. And then, again, just don't get your body stuck into a groove of doing the same calories all the time and the same breakdown of macronutrients. Shift them around a little bit, keep you off balance, and do different activities as well, because it's the activity and the movement that's going to shift things around a lot in your system. So, yeah, Smiljana?
Thank you very much for that. Actually, that really resonated with me because I've heard of the carb cycling. I've kind of seen it in numbers as in so many calories, but I think for me, that really, I think is what happened. My body adapts very quickly. And so the first month on this, it was like, boom, 7 pounds, and it might not be fat. And I thought, oh, excited. And then I kind of got a plateau, and I'm so consistent, almost anally consistent about things and workouts. So I think, what you were saying, it's not just on the food level, but exercise as well. And even though you can ramp it up, I still felt no difference in that sense. But I like your suggestion with Christina. Yes, it is working towards a goal, but I think just even cycling within how you kind of think about it, how you're doing cleanse days, all of that, because my body was kind of holding on to a lot of the sugars. And even when, I'm doing all this, and even before the keto, the isolene, I think it was just holding and storing it. And the first thing I noticed, like Christina said, where you're kind of I never even got to 50 carbs a day. So like, that's how fine tuned, but when I went and did my measurements at the gym, and even though the fat isn't always accurate, like you said, at the gym, they have a little different of a sensor, and I noticed how much my fat percentage just jumped. So weight stayed the same-ish, but the fat jumped significantly.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like 10%. And I lost 12. So that's interesting, right? So that'll help, I think.
Cool. Awesome. And then if somebody's where they want to be with their focus, so let's talk a little bit more specifically. I've referred to it earlier, but if you're where you want to be, and you're happy with that, there's two options now. One, you can increase your caloric intake because you're starting to do a lot more activity. If you're an athlete, you can start to bring harder training back into the equation. You're going to need to eat more to support that. Even if your body's accessing more fat from fuel within your system, you're going to need to bring in more calories. And to keep the ratio consistent, you're going to bring your carbs up along with your fats and your proteins. You want to know what that intake or input of carbs into your system is going to do to your ketone numbers. So that's where the Keto Mojo, for example, whatever one you're using, use that. I just have a Keto Mojo, so I'm going to refer to that. And so it's important, as I was saying earlier, raise your carbs up consistently for a few days. So don't do 60, 70, 80, 90 in each successive day. Pick amount of carbs that's low, it's above where you were before. So let's say you were at 45, go to 60. And then test your ketone numbers for a few days, right? And see how did that affect my system, right? And if you're exercising and eating your carbs around the same time, bringing more complex carbs, or you're having them with proteins and fats, you're going to be able to get away with, I would be shocked if your ketone numbers drop significantly, if at all, by just raising them from, say, 45 to 60. But you want to know what your particular number is, right? Mine's somewhere between 100 and 150, depending on what I'm eating and when, and how much exercise I'm doing. You can get away with a lot of carbs to be able to bring those into your system. And the more active you are, the more carbohydrates you're going to be able to get into your body without it affecting your ketone number. So those are really important things to know. So if you're an athlete, you really want to make sure you're bringing your carbs in or around your activity. If you're not that focused on athletics and working out, they just figure out, okay, I'm going to be more focused on complex carbohydrates, bringing them in with proteins and healthy fats, and then inching the amount of carbs that you're bringing into your system up a little bit, and then measuring your ketone numbers consistently. Once you figure out what's going to pop you out of ketosis, dial it back a little bit, stay at that zone, your ketone numbers will come back up again. And then the next time that you're going to know or need to have your monitor with you is when you fall off track, right? Because it's going to happen. You're going to go to an event, you're going to go to a wedding or a party of some sort, you're going to go on vacation. And if you're like me, you're going to want to enjoy life. You're not going to be staying focused on this all the time. You don't have to beat yourself up. It's not a diet. It's just a way of getting on track that works. So when you come off the program and you're getting too many carbs in and your ketone numbers have dropped down to like nothing, then you want to know, what is it that I need to do in order to get back on track? And everybody's going to be a little different. Something that works really well for most people is just going back to under 20 grams of net carbs a day for 2 or 3 days. And bang, you're right back into ketosis. The longer you've been in ketosis, the easier it's going to be to get back there significantly. But if not, you you want to make sure you know how long you need to do that for it to work for you. Because, under 20 grams of net carbs is intense, right? Especially if you've drifted away from that, going back to that's pretty hard. So you want to find out what amount of carbohydrates for how long is going to get me back into ketosis, or what low amount of carbohydrates for how long is going to get me back into ketosis. So that's the other way, using the Keto Mojo, for example, in a lifestyle component is going to allow you to, understand what you need to do for this to work for you. Because lifestyle to me means it's got to work for me, right? It's not what somebody tells me I need to do. It's what I want to do, but it's going to keep me in a state that I want to be in, which I love being in ketosis. And I'm always in a low level of ketosis. It's still like in that 0.5 to 1.0 millimoles per liter. That's usually kind of where I hover. So sometimes I dropped into the low end of that because I'm having more carbohydrates. Sometimes I'm focused more on keto type foods, and I'm going up to the top part, or maybe even over 1 quite easily. So that's kind of where I want you to sort of get the concept of the lifestyle thing. And then when you're helping other people, it's just helping them understand. If you want to boil it all down, initially stay with the program. If you're on your first month or so and you're trying to get results still, even if it's after that first month, just follow the program, put your blinders on. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. If it's not on the schedule, don't do it, right? Stay on track. And then afterwards, you can start to incorporate other things. But people say, well, can I do this and can I do that? I go, I don't know. Do it and see how it affects your ketone numbers. If it pops you out of ketosis, then the answer is no, you can't do that, right? If you can stay in ketosis by doing something, then hey, look at that. You can do that. That's awesome. But I can do things that Barbara can't do. Barbara's going to be able to do things that are not going to affect her, but for whatever reason, based on how active I am or I'm not and what I'm eating around that time, they're going to affect me differently. So it's different for everybody. So initially, stick with the program. Afterwards, push the envelope and see how your body reacts. And everybody's a little different. So, okay. Any other questions about that? And then we'll jump into the marketing. Nope. Awesome. Okay. I got a whole pile of things here that I want to talk about. So this is great. So we've got about a half an hour left. So this is just these are the notes that I left myself from the first group. And I just love talking about sharing isogenics. I probably enrolled close to 600 people. I'd be enrolling another guy right now, but I told him I had to get off the phone because I got this nutrition class that I'm coaching right now, and I got 9 minutes. Anthony, I'll email you later some examples of programs that I think you would want, and I'll tell you exactly what information I need, and he's going to email me tomorrow morning. I'm going to sign him up, right? So I've enrolled somebody, or Michelle and I have enrolled somebody every week for the last 4 or 5 weeks now. It's just, and that's because we're focusing on it, right? There's always people out there that are in isogenics. So I'm going to do a combination of marketing, but net fuel marketing, okay? So I'm going to talk a lot about what I do to help get people enrolled. And because you guys are in our masterclass, if you need me to do a 3-way call, doesn't matter if you're in my team or not, just message me and I'll do a 3-way call to help explain what net fuel is and, isogenic. But this is just like an ongoing thing of prospects. Like I've always got a sheet like this. I'm not high tech, right? I don't use ISO tools. I've got Infusionsoft, but most of my prospecting is this. It's like I've got a whiteboard over there and I've got my sheet. And I look at the sheet and I'm looking at each person's name and I'm like, okay, I got to call Brad, right? For whatever reason, I just feel like I need to call Brad. And Brad's like, dude, I was just thinking about you. We need to talk. We need to have lunch, right? And Michelle and I were at church the other day and he said, we need to have lunch. When are we going to have lunch again? I want to talk to you some more about that stuff, right? It's like, because he's thinking about me as much as I'm thinking about him, if you're getting that right connection. So just look at people's names on that list, but you've got to have a list, right? I call it the pipeline, and you got to always have people in that pipeline. And here's what I say to them. So when I'm connecting with somebody, here's a couple of things that you're going to be focused on chatting about. I don't ever want to go into a conversation thinking that I'm trying to sell isogenics. Because if I'm presenting isogenics to somebody, here's what they're listening for. This is my ears emoji thing, right? So this is what they're listening for. They're listening for, why is this not for me? That's what they're listening for. If somebody's calling you up out of the blue trying to get you to do something, you're not listening for why this is for you. You're listening for why this isn't for you. So what I do is I take the time to ask somebody what it is they want. if you ask the right questions, somebody will always tell you everything you need to know to be able to share Isagenix effectively with them. And then you just focus on repeating back to them what they're looking for. And I think Isagenix is great for everybody. So it's not like I'm trying to get somebody to do something that this isn't for them. My job isn't to, convince them that this is for them. I know it's for them. My job is to find out what it is that they're looking for and be able to present Isagenix in a way that matches up with the needs that they've got. That's what I'm always thinking about, right? So for me to do that, I'm going to connect with them. I'm not going to ever sell Isagenix. I'm just asking questions to connect with them. Me, even before I start asking questions that seem like I'm trying to talk about Isagenix, I'm just going to gather information on them. Hey, what do you like? What do you not like? And I'm listening for two things. I'm listening for the pleasure that they like to have more of in their life. So what is it that they get drawn towards? And then I'm going to ask them for what's the pain that they don't like, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples. So let's say the pleasure that somebody might get drawn towards, maybe they like to travel a lot, or they're an athlete and they like to work out. So I'm going to start to ask them things like, well, what's holding you back from doing that more? Right? Well, why aren't you doing that? And then I'm going to listen for the pain, because here's the things that's holding them back. Well, I'm too fat. I don't have enough money. I'm exhausted all the time. So whenever I start to get them thinking about what they want more, that's a positive feeling for them. Then I'm going to ask them what's holding them back from doing more of that. And then they're going to start to tell me the thing that I can provide a solution for. And when they start telling me what's holding them back, I'm going to ask them, well, what have you done about that? What have you tried to do in the past that's worked for you or not worked for you? Or what have you tried to do in the past? And then I'll just let them talk and they'll say, well, how's that worked? There's a couple times I've talked to people and they've said, well, I did this thing called Isagenix one time. Because remember, I'm not selling them Isagenix, I'm just talking, right? And they're going to tell me that they tried Isagenix in the past. I'm going to say, well, how did it go? Like, why did it work? No, well, it didn't really work. Well, why didn't it work? Right? And so many times I would talk to athletes, somebody got them going on Isagenix and they didn't have them focus on having more calories to support their training, and they were exhausted all the time and they felt terrible and it didn't work. If I'm coaching an athlete through Isagenix, I'm going to have them be really specific on the cleansing days, but eat as much as they need to support their training on the shake days. Right? It's a different way of doing it. I don't ever have somebody just do a 400 to 600 calorie meal, especially as an athlete on a shake day. They're going to be starving and they're going to hate this program. It's not going to work for them because it's not supporting their training goals. So I'm going to ask them what they did differently, right? So I'm going to say, well, what is it that you're doing? How's that working for them? And then I'm going to ask them a simple question. Hey, I've got a solution that I think you'd be interested in. Are you open to hearing a little bit more about it? And when you say that, here's what happens, right? The anti-sales wall starts to go up because it sounds like I'm about to sell them on something, right? So the anti-sales wall goes up, and then I say this, before I tell you about it, someone's like, whoa, wait a second. The anti-sales wall is starting to come down again, right? Before I tell you about it, let me tell you what happened to me. He's going to tell me a story. I love stories. That's what's going through people's heads. The anti-sales wall is now coming down, and they're listening to the story. So now I've taken the time to find out what somebody's looking for. Now I can explain the system in a way that's going to match up with what they want. So if they're interested in losing excess weight, I weigh almost 30 pounds more now than I did when I started Isagenix. So I'm not going to talk about Isagenix in my specific situation and what I've particularly accomplished. I'm going to start to share people that I've helped in the past. Because I've helped so many people come into the program and I've worked with so many people, both in my team and outside my team, I've got a ton of examples of people that I could talk about that will relate exactly to this person. So I'm going to say, I remember talking to a lady that I helped on my program, and this is what she was experiencing, and that person is going to go, yeah, that's me. That's exactly me. And I go, and this is how I helped her, right? So this guy that I was talking to tonight, Anthony, he said, so I got a couple questions for you. He's Italian, right? He was born in Italy, very aggressive A-type. And he's like, okay, I got a couple questions for you. So how's this sold? Is it like a retail product or is like straight from the company? How much protein's in it? How much sugar's in it? And how do you know what you know? Right? I'm like, okay, so let's start from the top. This is a direct sales network marketing company, and I would never buy a nutrition product unless it was from a direct sales network marketing company. Because if I'm going to a store, Anthony, to buy a nutrition product, only 5 to 10% of the cost of that product is gone into making it. If I'm spending $100 on something, I don't want $5 to $10 going into making that product. I want way more. In a direct sales company like Isagenix, it's 50%. In fact, our shakes are so amazing. $55 of every $100 you're spending on our shake is going into making that shake. It's an amazing high quality shake. You can't get this quality of product in a store. He says, okay, that's good. I like that, right? And then he says, well, what about protein? I go, well, we got a couple different options, right? So you're going through the examples of what we've got. And he asked about sugar. I didn't tell him about how much sugar there is. I said, there's the equivalent of half an apple worth of sugar in our shakes. He says, well, I like that. I like apples. I go, me too, right? But our shakes are amazing. He says, well, how do you know so much about all this stuff? Like, where do you get your knowledge from? And I go, I've been working with people for 12 years in Isagenix, and I've helped 600 people come in and do this, and thousands of other people that I've worked with directly or indirectly. I've got a wide range of experience working with a whole walkload of different people. I know I'm going to help you get results. And if for whatever reason you don't get results, Anthony, you got a 30-day guarantee you can get all your money back. Like, no problem. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. He says, okay, can you sign me up now? I go, no, I can't. I got a call in 9 minutes. But I can send you some examples tonight, and you can send me your information. I can get you signed up tomorrow, and you'll have it on Tuesday. It's okay, good. Let's do that. So, like, I'm connecting with him. I'm finding out what he's looking for. When people have objections, understand that is just an opportunity for you to give them information that they're looking for. That's all they're ever looking for. If somebody is so much of an objection that they just don't want to do this, I'll tell you right now, they're not talking to you anymore. They're gone. So if they're still talking to you and they've got objections, that's an opportunity to answer their questions and give them the information they're looking for. And see, a lot of times people don't want to sound like they don't know, so they have an objection because it covers up the fact that they're, for lack of a better word, ignorant to the information. So the objection is something that's an opportunity for you to help them get educated on it. And if they're not going to do anything, don't worry about it. But don't ever get freaked out about objections. Like, I used to be all concerned about objections. I got an objection. How am I going to deal with this? And then I figured out, it's nothing to be dealt with. It's nothing to overcome. It's just an opportunity to clarify what they don't know. And if they're not ready for this because this isn't for them, you don't want them in your team. You really don't, because they're going to be a pain in the butt later. So you're just looking for people that really want to do this. So once somebody has, a desire to get more information, you've told your story, send them to the tools. And that's why we do the, every once in a while we'll do the Net Fuel video for prospecting. I'll do that every couple of weeks or a month or so, and invite everybody onto the call, and I post a recording so you can use that. That's a tool to be able to share with other people so that you don't have to worry about how to explain the whole program. I talk about this stuff all the time, so I can just go over things with, on a little webinar, and I can talk very smoothly about it and hit all the points, and you don't have to worry about it that way, right? So use the tools. Use the tools that Isagenix has. This is a little different than what Isagenix has got available in terms of tools, so use the stuff that we're putting together. I'm just looking at some of my notes here. I always prefer to have people who are interested in lifestyle components rather than just losing weight. And this is where Isagenix is a really, it's a unique system because it works, but it's also healthy for them. And there's so many times people are looking for a solution, and if they don't really care about it being healthy, usually what happens is once they've gotten the result, they're gone, right? And you do a whole whackload of effort to get them in your team, and then they get that 20 pounds off, and then they stop using the program. And you've done all that work to get them in for nothing. So you're going to try and get referrals from them, and I'll talk about how I do that in a second. But really, what I want to help people understand is that Isagenix is effective, but it's really healthy. And there's things out there that are effective, but they're not healthy, right? Diets, for example, would be a good one. There's a lot of diet companies out there that work, but they're not healthy for people. So I'm going to ask people right up front, hey, are you interested in doing something that's healthy? Are you interested in a lifestyle? Or are you just looking for a quick fix and you don't care whether it's healthy for you or not? I want to hear that person say that. And usually when I verbalize it, they start to think, no, I want a healthy solution. And that gives me the opportunity to talk about the power and the benefits of isogenics rather than it's just another result that they're going to get. Because if I don't have that chance to talk about how much healthier this is, then, I don't know, taking diet pills, they might think, well, the diet pills are just the same thing because I haven't talked about it. So I want to hear from somebody or get them thinking and put that seed in their head that they want to do something more healthy. Because usually when people think about it, not everybody, but usually when somebody's thinking about it, they're like, well, yeah, why wouldn't I want to do something that's healthier rather than unhealthy? But if they don't think about it and you don't have the chance to talk about it, it's easy for them to go choose something that's not as healthy. Okay. Yeah, interested in lifestyle. So here's the thing that I would always want to say to people, isogenics isn't on trial. It works. We've had hundreds of thousands of people who have got incredible, amazing results. And I don't talk to somebody like isogenics is on trial, right? Like I'm not trying to justify that this works. I'm just giving the examples, right? I'm going to find out what somebody's problem is. So if you're going to think about 4 Ps, right? Here's the Ps. Right? You're going to find out what's their problem. We talked about that. The second P is promise. You're going to promise to help them find a solution because they want to know that you're on their side. You're not just trying to sell them something. You're trying to help them find a solution to a problem they've got. The third P is the proof. You want to show them that it works. Your story is going to be the proof. You giving examples in your story of other people that you've helped, that's proof, right? And then the fourth thing that you want to outline for somebody is the plan. Okay, that's great that you understand what I want. That's awesome that you're going to promise to help me find a solution. That's great that isogenics worked for all these other people over there. That can I do it, right? Can I follow the plan? That's what they want to know. What is the plan? What do I need to do? Can I afford it? First of all, that's a part of the plan. Because if I can't afford it, it doesn't matter how great this thing works. I can't do it, right? And if I can't follow the things that you need me to do, then this isn't going to work for me. Right? Like I can help somebody run really fast in a race, but if they're not going to go run, it's going to be hard to train them to get to that result. So you're going to go over the plan that somebody is going to have to follow so that they can see that, hey, yeah, this is for me. Because if you don't go over the plan, even in a cursory sense, they're always going to be thinking in the back of their mind, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm willing to give up the things I need to give up or do the things that I need to do for this to work for me, and they'll find reasons not to do it. But if you outline it, and like I did with Anthony before the call, dude, you're going to do 2 shakes a day and a healthy meal or 2. 2 meals if you're training a lot, 1 if you're not. It's not complicated. You're going to save you time. We're going to save you money. It's going to work better than anything else that you're going to do. And, the results are guaranteed. You're going to love it. It's super simple. I'm going to coach you through the program. You're going to get great results. And then you're going to do shake days for a week or so, and then you're going to do a cleansing day. And ideally, you're going to do it for 2 days in a row, right? And I'm going to coach you through the program. If that's too much, back off a little bit. You're going to get results. It's going to be awesome for you, and I'm looking forward to helping you get those results, right? Talking that way to people because you're going to be able to help them. So I did this with Anthony, and so this is where the net fuel component comes in. I'm going to say there's 2 sort of pathways that people follow when they get into isogenics. So if you're sharing this with new people, don't try and get them to do net fuel. It's intense. It's very restrictive, right? It's hard. If somebody is looking for that, like here Anne that Michelle and I brought in a while ago, she wanted it to be hard. I told her about the 30-day program and I told her about net fuel. She said, net fuel sounds way harder. I go, yeah. She goes, that's the one I want, right? And other people are the exact opposite. They go, well, I want to start with something a little simpler. I go, great. We signed up a guy, Ken, a NABA back in Canada the other day. He's like, whoa, that net fuel thing sounds really intense. It's a little too much for me right now. Let me just do the easier 30-day program. See what he said? The easier 30-day program. So sometimes when we just lead with the 30-day program, people are like, wow, that is so restrictive. I can't do that. Now you've got this other thing that's way more restrictive. 30 days seems easy now, right? But I don't tell people which one to do. I just say, this is what you need to do for each, right? Our net fuel program is really effective, but it's harder, right? You're going to have to track a lot of food that you're eating. You're going to have to enter everything into an app because you don't know what you're eating right now. I can guarantee it. But over a month, you're going to get really broken away from that carb addiction. So if you're looking to get rid of that carbohydrate addiction that you're on right now, then this is a great program for you. So let me explain the two and the benefits of each, and then you can ask me some questions and decide which one you're looking for. So that's how I market the two of them, and I just let them decide. And I'll quite often say, you know what, and I'll back up whatever they want. Remember, you may have heard Isagenix say, we educate, they decide, and we support. That's all I'm doing right there. I'm educating them on the different options. They're deciding, and then I'm supporting them. And whatever they decide on, that's the best option. I'm like, you're going to absolutely love the 30-day program. You're going to go through that for a while. And when you're ready, I can tell you a little bit more about our Net Fuel program, because it's incredible for really taking things to that next level. And if they choose Net Fuel up front, I go, man, you are going to totally love this. It's going to accelerate your results. You're going to really love how this is going to fit into your life. So many people just think this is the easiest thing to do because it just makes things so clear cut. And it's not a diet, right? You're going to be able to eat a lot of healthy fats and great protein in your system. This is not just eating salads all day and drinking shakes, right? You're going to love this program. So those are some different things that I like to tell people about. But really go over the 4 things that I suggest that we do here in Net Fuel. Number 1 is we're going to make sure you're getting really good, high quality macronutrients, right? We're going to have you focus on really good, healthy fats. And we're providing 2 meals a day that are the highest quality, bioavailable protein that you can find anywhere. It just makes it so easy. In fact, about half your protein that you're going to be ingesting every day is going to come from these shakes. And it's going to be really awesome at supporting your lean muscle mass development, keeping your metabolism high and keeping you in that fat burning mode all the time. These shakes are also great for boosting your immune function, and they're going to be really good at keeping you full. Right? Number 2 is the micronutrient support. Isagenix is famous for micronutrients, and it's really whole food based, and it's so clean and bioavailable for your system. Number 3, we've got something nobody else has, and that's our cleansing days. We've got our Cleanse for Life, which is a mineral support drink, and it's going to help your body convert fat-soluble toxins into a water-soluble form so you can get them out of your body. And then number 4 through Net Fuel is the coaching that we're going to provide you with. We're going to actually take away all the uncertainty, and that's what holds people back, because you know what? People are busy. I know you're a busy person, and you don't have time to figure it out, and you don't know what it is, right? So we're going to be able to do that for you. And as your coach, we're going to be able to take that uncertainty away. We're going to guide you through it. It's all systemized. You just get plugged into the system. I'll tag you on the file that you need. I'll add you to the group, and you just follow that file, just like bit by bit, and you're going to be good to go. So I say that to people, and it's just like, hey, there's a system I can follow. That's great, right? So this is why Net Fuel is better than regular unhealthy keto, right? And if they start asking questions about what keto options are out there, you know what? There's so much information. It's so confusing. We take all that confusion away, and we make it keto in a healthy way. Remember back earlier when we talked about it might work, but it's not healthy? Normal keto might work, but it is not healthy for you. And over time, your body's going to start breaking down and not feeling so good. This is going to ensure that you stay on track because of the quality of the products that we're going to be getting into your body. Okay. And then let me talk a little bit about how I create consultants. And this is just, I've been doing this for such a long time. And it came about from asking people for referrals, and then saying to me, oh, I never said I was going to send you referrals. I never said I was going to help you build a business, right? So what I like to do up front is when I'm explaining the program to people and I'm going over the value, because remember, I don't want anybody buying Isagenix unless when I'm offering it to them and there's a price associated with it, that they go, wow, that is worth so much more than it's going to cost me. I can't afford not to do it. Now they might say, I can't put it on my credit card today or this month or next month, but I can't afford not to do that program. So I want them to see the value. So I'm going to go over, and this is minimal, but I'm going to go over how much money it's going to save them in meals. So I'm just going to ask them very quickly, hey, this is going to replace 68 meals over the course of the month. So let's say it was just 2. How much are you going to save by not having to buy 2 meals a day? And I don't care what the answer is. Maybe the answer is $0 for breakfast and it's $2 for lunch. They spend $2, so that's $60. I don't really care, right? If they're only spending $2 for breakfast and lunch, I'll tell you right now, they are snacking through the day and they're eating garbage at night, and because their body is in a bad state. And so even if I'm not going to save them as much money, if health is important to them, the value of that benefit of getting healthier is going to be massive. So the answer to how much money they're going to save in meals is irrelevant, right? The less benefit that they're going to get from doing isogenics, the more they're already spending on good quality nutrition. That was me before I started isogenics. I didn't feel like I really needed it, but it was going to be a lot simpler and less expensive for me to do isogenics than do what I was doing before, right? So when I went over and I compared the cost of the meals that I was spending, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to save hundreds of dollars a month doing this program for 2 meals a day. And I did. And I still got better results. So I'm going to ask somebody, what are you spending right now on 2 meals a day? And I'm going to ask them, what are you spending now on snacks? Write those numbers down. And then how much is it worth to you to save an hour a day on food prep? It's different for everybody. If somebody's a massage therapist and they can, do an extra client, there's an $80 a day. That's another $2,400 they can make over the course of a month. Write that number down, right? What's the value of the benefits worth to you, right? How much is it worth to you to lose 20 pounds this month? Remember, as a guarantee, if you don't lose that weight, you get your money back, right? I don't even know why Isogenics came up with the lose 10 pounds in January, your money back, because we always had that guarantee. Like, why pin a number to it, right? How much is it worth to get the results? And go over all the results that person's told you that they want to get, that you think Isogenics is going to help them. And then have them write down a number, right? And they're going to say, well, that's priceless if I can have more energy to play with my grandkids, right? I go, I know, but what's priceless to you? Is it $1? Is it $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000? Write the number down. I guarantee you this is going to be way less than whatever this is worth to you, but I just want you to write a number down. And then when I tell them, because I haven't talked about the price, and if somebody asks me how much is this, I go, I have no idea. That's like you walking into a car dealership and saying, how much is a car? What car do you want? What options do you want? What is it that you want in the car, right? Like, this is exactly the same answer when you're doing isogenics. You can't tell somebody how much a kit is going to be, even if they just get the 30-day. What other products do they want to add on to that 30-day? But here's the other way to explain it. I don't know how you want to buy it. And this is how I get people locked into giving me referrals. This is so important. The first 100 people that I enrolled, 50 of them were people I presented isogenics to. The other 50 were referrals. And of those 50 referrals, 30 came from people who had done the program that I said, hey, you got great results. Who do you know that needs to hear about this? They didn't want to share it, but I did. So they sent those referrals to me. The other 20 referrals came from people that said, no, I don't want to do this. But I asked them, who do you know that does? Always ask for referrals. Whether they do it or they don't do it, ask for referrals. If they don't do it, you ask for referrals and you say, when can I follow up with you? Can I follow up with you every couple of months? Just to let you know how things are going and check in. No is never no. Right? No is never no. So when I get to the point where they've got that list of benefits all monetized and how much money they're going to save, I'm going to say, so what's your number? Like, what is this program worth to you? And I'm usually somewhere between $1,000 and $8,000. Like, that's usually what isogenics is worth to this person in savings and benefits. We don't ever sell shakes. We're selling a solution to people. Because if it was just shakes, they could buy any shake and get the result, but they can't. Isogenics is unique. There's so much more here. And if somebody says isogenics is too expensive, which I never get because I'm so diligent about explaining the value, but if somebody says isogenics is too expensive, then you either didn't do a good enough job of explaining the value, or here's the other way of thinking about it. That person is saying, I don't care about my health. I don't care about getting toxins out of my body. I'd rather have my money in my bank account because it's not important to me to have more energy to play with my kids or my grandkids or live long enough to see my daughter get married or da-da-da-da-da. So when you go over all the benefits that somebody's looking for and the things they want in their life, you can use that later to help them, not use it to sell them, but use it to help them understand that that money sitting in the bank account is not helping them get what they really want in life. And I have a thought here. When somebody asks how much isogenics costs, here's a great answer. How much does it cost to do it? Or how much does it cost to not do it? Because there's a cost whether you do it or you don't do it, right? You're going to have to spend some money to do the program, yes. but you're going to spend something if you don't do the program, because there's a cost to you staying stuck where you're at. You're not happy. Remember, if you're talking to somebody and they're telling you what they want, they're always going to tell you what you need to say to help them if you ask the right questions. If they're looking for solutions, if they don't do isogenics, they're not getting that solution. Right? If you just go selling isogenics to somebody, you don't know what they're looking for, you can't touch on this part of things. So what I'll say to somebody as I'm presenting isogenics to them, I'm going to go, okay, so here's the costs. This is what it's going to cost to do it. There's two options, right? So you wiggle down into the pack that you think would be the best one for them. And then you go, okay, so let's say it's the value pack, right? And it's, I don't know, with shipping and stuff, it's like $600. The retail price of that value pack is about $800. So I'm going to say there's two options to purchase this pack. You can get it for $800 or you can get it for $600. And if you're going to do the 30-day, it's $400 or $300, right? Or $470 in Canada or $370. So you're going to go, which price would you prefer? Almost always they're going to say, well, the lower one. I go, great, I want you to get the lower one, but I'm making less money. You know, I'm going to make about 30% less because I'm giving up the retail profit on that sale so that you can get a better price. So in return, is it fair that when you get results, we talk about some referrals of people that you know who could benefit from the solutions that you found, right? Or that are asking you what you're doing so that they can get that answer. Is that fair? I'm going to save you $200, and when this works, you're going to talk to me about referrals. Twice over the last 12 years, I've had somebody say no. I'd rather pay the retail price. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have to send you any referrals. And I went, awesome. Here's the retail price. Give me your credit card. What flavors do you want? I just sign them up. Like, if they're saying to me they don't want to help me grow my team, they don't deserve to get the wholesale price. Is that the mindset? I'm in isogenics for the business, right? It is still an amazing deal, even at the retail price. There's no reason I have to give them the wholesale price and give up referrals, right? So retail price or wholesale price, what would you prefer? Great, I want you to get the wholesale price. I'm going to talk to you about referrals. Awesome. When they get results, you're going to talk to them about referrals. Remember, you're never selling them on something. You're finding a solution for them so that now they know you're never selling their friends that they're going to refer to you. You're helping their friends find a solution, right? So that this isn't a sell job that they're going to feel embarrassed about. And then as they go through the program, they're going to start feeling great. Some of their friends are going to ask them what you're doing. Hey, go talk to my friend Steve, right? What I do is I like to make it easy for them is I'm going to send them an email that sounds like it's coming from them that connects that person with me. And I say, hey, send this email to them, CC me on the email, and I'll just reach out and just do with them what I did with you, if that's cool. Or connect us by text or Facebook Messenger, whatever, because I want to take over. They don't know how to talk about isogenics. I do. I don't want them talking about it. They're just going to screw it up, right? I want control over those referrals. But here's what I'm also going to say in that conversation. So I'm just whipping through this because y'all can listen to the recording later, right? But I want you to paint the picture for them about what's possible. So I'm going to say, let's say, Smeljana, let's say I'm talking to you, right? And I say, Smeljana, you probably know dozens of people. You're so vibrant personality. People love that hair color, right? So you probably know all kinds of people that when you start getting results from this, right, they're going to want to know what you're doing. But here's what I would also like to do. And I'd like to make sure that you get great results. And I would like you to have a little accountability team. So if you could send off like a little message to people, do not tell them it's isogenics. Don't say anything about a nutrition program, right? Just say, hey, I'm doing this new thing to get my health back on track, lean out a little bit, have more energy. Can you keep me on track? If I know you know I'm doing this, I'm more likely to follow it. And some of them are going to say, well, what is it? Don't tell them anything, right? Because I don't want you to think that I'm trying to get you to sell isogenics. Just say, don't tell them anything. If they're really, really adamant about finding out what it is, hey, it would be awesome if you did this with them, you can connect them with me right away and I'll help them understand what it is and you guys could go through it together. That's a lot more fun than you just doing this all on your own. But usually if you just hold them off and say, hey, listen, I just got my kit, or I haven't even got my kit yet, and let me go through it for a week, and they're like, what kit? What are you doing? Hey, if you're doing something, I want to know what it is. That, you know what, once you've gone through this and you've started to get results, you might have a couple people signed up before you even get your kit. I help people do that all the time. But let's say it takes a couple of weeks. Let's say you send me 10 people that are interested in doing this. If just half of them decide to get started on that same value pack that you're doing, I'm going to get about $1,000 to $1,200 from the company. And I'm really like, yeah, Smiljana, thanks so much for the referrals, right? And you're thinking, holy crap, $1,200, right? But you're not saying that. You're just thinking it. And then I say, Smiljana, I'm going to come back to you. And if you're interested in continuing to use Isagenix, like ordering some stuff down in the future, then actually it benefits me more to let you enroll those people and the company sends you the $1,200. Would that be okay? Like, this is word for word what I say to people. And
brilliant.
Most of the time they say this. Yeah, right? I go, okay, great. So I know you said you could probably send out a little letter to like 5 people, but knowing that every 5 people that decide to get started, you're going to get $1,000. Like, how many people would you be able to send this little accountability letter out to, or message? Hey, I'm doing this thing. I had a lady go from 5 to 200.
Wow.
Right? Because she's the one that's going to benefit from getting those people in her team. So it's not like I guess I could send you 5 or 10 referrals. Now it's like, I want to tell everybody I know, right? Because here's the thing. I'm going to do the work, Smiljana, to get those people in your team because you don't know what to say. So you just send them to me. I'll get them connected to the information. And if they're interested, I'm going to message you back and go, hey, Smiljana, are you free on Thursday at 3 o'clock? Because your friend Marianne wants to hear a little bit more about Isagenix, and I would love for you to be on the phone to tell your story with us on the phone together. Right? I'm dragging you back in, and you're thinking, well, yeah, I want to do that now because I'm going to get $1,000, right? That's how I develop all my consultants. And at any point in time, I've got between 10 and 25 consultants that are personally enrolled in my team. So you can do this. Just ask the question, right? Just do it up front. You don't owe them the wholesale pricing on anything with Isagenix, right? You don't owe them that. You can give it to them, but they have to say they're going to help you build your business. Does that make sense? Or am I just being nasty? So anyways, okay, so that's kind of my whole marketing thing. It was kind of an overall marketing thing, but incorporating Isagenix, just keep in mind those 5 or 6 things. Number 1, just because keto works doesn't mean it's healthy. NetFuel is a healthy way to do keto, right? We want people to understand we've got a system in place that's going to help them go through the program because people don't know what to do and they don't have the time to figure it out. We do that for them, right? And then beyond that, more specifically, NetFuel is quality macronutrients, quality micronutrients, cleansing days. And then we've also got the whole coaching support that takes some hard things away from all the uncertainty that people are going to have by going through a program on their own. The information's out there online, but it's just a jumbled mess and people don't know what to do. We've got that completely taken care of. And then let them know too, this whole NetFuel thing, and this is why I won't let anybody in the team, and maybe there are people in there, but I'm like pretty adamant about nobody comes into this team unless they're in Isagenix. There's no people, I don't want people allowed to come into NetFuel and then think about going into Isagenix, right? Get me on the phone and talk to them. Have them watch a prospecting video. They don't need to be in NetFuel to decide whether this is something they want to join, right? The information that's in there is so valuable that people have to join your team in order to get to it. It's so valuable. You want to understand that value added thing is there. And if they don't want to join your team, they don't get access to the information, right? Like, don't let people into that group until they've agreed and have signed up into your organization. So anyways, I'm going to open up the call. Anybody has any questions about anything that we've done in the previous calls, or more specifically tonight for lifestyle and marketing? I'm happy to answer all that stuff. I'm just reading through some of the comments here as I'm waiting.
Okay, I do, if I can. Hopefully I won't have technical difficulties now. I'm on my phone.
Right.
So when you enroll people, do you typically, I mean, it sounds like with what you were saying that you typically enroll them with a pack normally,
Sure.
Steve. Okay. So if you give them the option of doing the regular 30-day or doing the net fuel, how do you incorporate a pack into the net fuel? Because obviously they're not going to need, for the first 30 days, they're not going to need the shakes that come with the packs. How do you handle that?
Yeah, until IsoPro is an option that's available, that's going to use. Until Isagenix makes IsoPro available as an option to add it to something like a 30-day program, right? Or any of the other packs, then it's a little trickier, but here's a great pack that works awesome, and it's the Custom Healthy Aging Pack. And it comes with the Complete Essentials with Isogenesis. And it comes with 2 canisters of shake. And we need a canister of Isoline shake anyways, right? For weeks 3 and 4, where you add a scoop of Isoline into the IsoPro. So you get an extra canister of Isoline shake, big deal, right? So put that aside for the next month. And then you've got, I think it's a $75 credit to buy a whole bunch of other stuff. So you can get your 3 canisters of IsoPro, you can get your cleanse drink, you can add on some, that's going to use that up right there, right? But then you can add on the omegas and the greens and coffee or whatever. So the Custom Healthy Aging Pack is awesome, and it makes it really easy to promote the Isogenesis. Now, having said that, it's out right now. So, because there's Isogenesis is out, but I believe it's supposed to be coming back at the end of March. So. But that's a perfect path for them. So I just maybe has any questions.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions?
Just want to thank you, Steve. The information has been invaluable.
Cool.
It's great, and I'm really grateful that this is going to be recorded and we can go back, because there's so much. You can't take it all in all at once. And,
cool.
yeah.
I'm constantly looking up at the corner to make sure I'm still recording all the time. So, when I messed up the recording last on Tuesday, remember y'all said it was the wrong, I pulled in last Thursday's recording, and so YouTube knows that I've duplicated the video, and their link didn't work. I was panicking there for a while, so I lost the video. But anyways, well, yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate that you're enjoying the information and it is useful. And yeah, certainly. And those recordings will be up on, I'll just leave them up on YouTube. So they're hidden, so don't share them around with anybody. But yeah, go in there anytime you want to check out the information. Okay, cool. Any other comments, questions? Cool. You guys are awesome. Great comments. Great interaction. Thanks for looking like you're paying attention. Nobody fell asleep as I was talking. That's always a bonus. Okay, guys, have a great night. Thanks so much. And again, as always, if you have any questions or comments, just type them into the group. Tag me on it so I get that notification right away and I'll respond. And for sure, if you have any 3-way calls that you want to do with people to get them interested in net fuel, or just join your Isagenix team in general, I'm pretty good at that stuff. So I'm happy to help you out. So you guys have a great night. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve. That was awesome.